So I would say I went to the Hoffman process about 10 years ago, and I'd been triggered in a dynamic with my partner that had led me into a pattern of behavior that was very similar to the way in which I would say I had been grown up with my mother, the way that my mother had loved me and had interacted with me. And I had gotten very confused about how to navigate the dynamics and the feelings that I was having. And I had recalled that this wonderful actor and a friend had mentioned the Hoffman process to me, like maybe a year previously. And I thought, you know what? I've never done anything like this. Yes, I've done therapy. Yes, I've explored the world and my mind in numerous ways. But this was the right time for me, I felt. And so I signed up and had, I would say, probably one of the most revealing experiences in my life. And I can only say I wish I'd done it 10 years or 20 years earlier. I was just about to turn 40, and it was really the greatest gift I could give myself and the greatest reveal in my life up until that point. I felt like I'd almost been born again, if that doesn't sound too hippy dippy.
What was it? Was it like 10 years of therapy in a week?
Honestly, yeah, I refer to it like that. I feel like what it feels like is, I think people say that between the age of 0 to 7, we're imprinted on by our parents. And unless we understand what that impact has on our lives, what the Hoffman process helps you to do is unpack almost that period, which feels almost impossible, but through visualization work and through a lot of um, like sort of group conversation and then and more intimate conversation in a smaller group, you get to sort of, and through watching the other people who may have parallels to your life, you get to sort of unpack the sort of trauma or the challenges of your upbringing and come to terms with them and really sort of release them and realize that those patterns of behavior aren't yours. And as Raz was saying, when I felt like what I learned to do was sort of leash in my inner child and my intellect, which both have really great aspects to them, but to use my keep my body and mind in a space to let my higher, the best version of myself run the show, as opposed to perhaps it was my intellect that was like being too hard on a situation, or perhaps it was my inner child that was going, I just need a hug right now, and I couldn't express that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really just the greatest gift of sort of learning, I think, to love myself in a way that I hadn't really understood or had a great example of, I would say.
Mm-hmm. How are you now, Orlando, living your life differently today than before you went through the process?
It's honestly like it's like I can't unsee that. I think the work is ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
It was for me, it was the first step into self-care, self-love, and and an understanding about how I move through the world, some empathy for myself and others, and the ability to not be conflicted or not be overwhelmed by some of the trauma that would come up in relationships or
Mm-hmm.
situations, and have a deeper understanding, I suppose.
Raz started out saying that he did Hoffman himself because he heard himself saying the same things that his father had said to him when he was parenting Mike. And I know you have a 14-year-old son from a previous relationship and a 4-year-old daughter with Katie. Has the Hoffman process changed how you see yourself as a dad and how you parent?
Absolutely. 100%. I think my job as a parent now is to allow my children to grow without getting in their way. Like, it's sort of like, don't get in the way of anyone else's journey. Don't let anyone get in the way of your journey, and just be grateful for the opportunities that are presented to you, and see the challenges of the dynamic that are in front of you as an opportunity for you to grow. And whether that's with my son, who is the most beautiful opportunity at times, and also just the sweetest soul, to not take it personally when he is processing his emotions, and at a young age, and at that age he's going through a multitude of them, to just allow those things to unfold. It's not, I'm not saying I'm perfect. It's
Mm.
not easy at all, but it is something that, without the Hoffman process, I don't think I could say I would have understood. I think I could have been easily um, triggered. And now, even if I am, and if we come across a situation that we're in conflict about, I can take a step back. I can let some time pass, and then we can re-engage in a conversation where I'm looking at everything from his perspective, whilst trying to lay in my thinking without it overwhelming or getting
Hmm.
in the way of his process.
So it sounds like the Hoffman process actually made you a better man, a better person. It allowed you to step into that role in a way that enhanced your living process.
It certainly did. I wouldn't say it's. I would say that it's ongoing.
Okay.
So, and I did.
And
I
is it
actually
what
went.
you take from it? Because you say it enhanced you, but it may not do the same thing for another person. It's
I think the way that it's curated is set up to help anybody who decides to go. And it just depends on the individual as to how much work they're willing to do
yeah.
and continue to do, and how open they are, and what their capacity for this kind of experience is. But it is certainly an incredible opportunity to, even just not having your phone for a week, being offline, and just being present to yourself and your emotions and your feelings. And there's a remarkable amount of some of the most detailed questions. I think it took about 10 to 12 hours for me to go through this questionnaire, which ultimately becomes your workbook through the week of work, and you refer to it. So it's something to do with sort of a lot of diligence and care when you go into it, because it does become an important tool in the process. But yeah, it is a tool that I think, for life, for skills for life in a way.
Hmm.
And that's, it's something that I'm super grateful for. Yeah, absolutely.